Even though support magic is considered essential, the main character never expected that the demon lord's self-destruction would completely destroy his home. The good news was that he was later taken in by an S-rank adventurer named Merlin. However, after finally finishing his training and joining a hero's party, he was suddenly expelled from the team. The hero accused him of being lazy during battles and considered him useless. What the hero didn't know was that since the day Merlin adopted him, the boy had gone through an extremely brutal training regimen. For example, if he failed to learn a fire spell within a single day, Merlin would simply refuse to give him any food. In the end, the boy always managed to succeed just before dinner time. "Look at this. Wow, amazing. You did great." Merlin crossed her arms and snorted. "Humph. You're still far from good enough." During winter, the boy once created a life-sized ice statue of Merlin using magic. Merlin responded by enlarging the statue and making him fall from a great height as part of his training. Despite such harsh lessons, the boy never complained. Instead, he always believed the same thing. He was simply too weak and needed to keep improving. One day, Merlin came home completely drunk. The boy used healing magic to sober her up. Merlin happily hugged him tightly. But the very next moment, she dragged him outside to continue practicing magic. That night, Merlin was studying a mysterious magic grimoire while grinding her teeth in frustration. When the boy suddenly entered the room, Merlin quickly tried to hide the book. Unfortunately, she dropped it on the floor. As the boy picked up the grimoire, his body suddenly reacted to it. The next moment, he collapsed and immediately fell asleep. Merlin stared at him in shock. This reaction meant only one thing. The boy possessed the aptitude of the chosen one. If that was truly fate, Merlin did not want him to repeat the same mistakes she once made. Because of that, she decided he must never rely too heavily on destructive power. Instead, she chose to train him as a white mage, someone who could use magic to protect and support others. The boy had the ability to accelerate plant growth, instantly ripening fruit. Meanwhile, Merlin could even reverse nature itself, turning a withered tree into a flourishing one full of branches and fruit. She also told him that among beast tribes there were rare individuals capable of controlling monsters using special magic. One day, the boy discovered a page describing ancient magic. His expression changed immediately. Pretending not to care, Merlin told him there was no need to learn it because ancient magic had disappeared hundreds of years ago. Later, when the boy was too slow summoning his staff, Merlin scolded him again. "You're still far from being able to stand on your own." That night, he learned about magic stones, crystals formed from condensed magical power. They could transform surrounding materials into magical crystals. Another day, Merlin suddenly covered his eyes and threw him deep into the forest. "Take this. Find your way home within 1 week. Use your magic and survive." Unfortunately, not long after Merlin left, the boy was attacked by monsters. As a white mage, he had no offensive magic. He could only rely on clever tricks to survive. When he became hungry, he accelerated the growth of wild fruit to eat. During the journey, he constantly modified his spells. Sometimes he strengthened only his fingers to make climbing easier. Other times he reduced mana consumption or improved his detection magic. Step by step, he continued refining his magic. Eventually, he managed to reach home and collapsed right in front of the door. Merlin was very satisfied with his performance. 2.5 years later, the boy discovered a book on the table describing human towns. He hoped Merlin would allow him to go outside and see the world. During those years, he finally realized something important. Working under Merlin was like living the life of a workhorse. Sometimes she suddenly demanded research on anti-aging magic. Other times she asked him to improve healing spells. Or she would invent a brand new enhancement spell and force him to test it all night. Can I go to sleep now?" What are you talking about? Didn't you use the spell that lets you stay awake for a week? Yes, I'm still awake, but my body can't handle it anymore. Then drink this potion. All right. Full of energy again. Let's continue. Get up, you useless brat. One day, Merlin suddenly noticed the boy was gone. The only thing left on the table was the book about human towns. After a long journey, the boy finally left the forest and returned to human civilization. With the last coins he had, he bought a piece of bread. At that moment, a recruitment flyer for adventurers blew directly into his face. By coincidence, he ended up joining a hero's party. Their first mission was to defeat a Cyclops. During the battle, the hero was overwhelmed and demanded healing. Standing quietly at the back, the boy suddenly cast a powerful support buff on the entire party. When the shield warrior blocked the Cyclops' next punch, she felt the impact was strangely light. The mage quickly bound the monster with magic. The hero seized the opportunity and delivered the final blow. Everyone believed it was the hero's achievement. Only the shield warrior glanced back toward the boy. However, the hero showed his true personality afterward. Even though the mission reward was enormous, he only gave the boy 5 coins, as if tossing charity to a beggar. When the hero suggested going out drinking to celebrate, the boy quietly declined and left. The mage mocked him, wondering who he thought he was. But the hero didn't care. To be honest, any white mage would do. He's just here to make the team look complete. Meanwhile, Merlin's old companion Wynne came to inform her that the boy had joined the hero's party. Merlin simply nodded. It's probably time for him to explore the world. As long as he doesn't become arrogant, he'll be fine. Yet Wynne could see a hint of regret in her expression. After all, years ago the Demon Lord had self-destruct in an attempt to steal the ancient grimoire. The explosion nearly killed Merlin and her entire team. In the end, their companion used ancient magic to revive everyone who had died during the battle. But the price for that miracle was his own life. Since the boy joined the hero's party, their reputation skyrocketed. No matter how powerful the enemy was, the team always won with surprising ease. The shield warrior noticed something strange. The force hitting her shield during battles felt lighter than before. Meanwhile, the hero simply believed he had become incredibly strong. One day the team accepted a quest to defeat a golem. The boy sensed the monster hiding behind a waterfall. After finally defeating one, another immediately fell from above. Then he noticed a demon hiding in the shadows. The black stone on the demon's staff was a magic stone used to control the golems. Breaking protocol, the boy gave orders to the team. After strengthening everyone with buffs, he told the archer to shoot the demon. Then he asked the mage to teleport the staff to him. The moment he grabbed it, he immediately sealed the magic stone. The hero, angry that the attention had shifted away from him, rushed toward the golem alone. The boy warned him. If the golem loses control, its attacks will become unpredictable. The hero ignored the warning. Just as the golem suddenly changed its attack pattern and was about to crush him, the boy rushed forward and pushed the hero aside. Thanks to that moment, the hero found an opening and finally destroyed the golem. The hero gradually began to dislike Lloyd more and more. Eventually, he decided to expel Lloyd from the party, finally getting rid of what he considered a thorn in his side. Don't run away. Aren't I amazing, Alan? The hero proudly said after driving Lloyd out. For 3 days straight, Lloyd searched for a new party but could not find anyone willing to accept him. By coincidence, at that same time a girl at the Adventurers Guild urgently needed a freelance white mage. However, the conditions she had set were so strict that no one had applied. Just then, Lloyd happened to arrive at the guild. Seeing him, the receptionist quickly recommended him. Maybe he could work. You're a white mage, the girl asked. Yes. Are you currently part of a party? Well, not at the moment. So you're unemployed then, she replied casually. Could you come with me for a moment? Lloyd followed her, confused. What Lloyd didn't realize was that he was actually a top-tier support mage. Because he could cast magic without chanting, people in his previous party had mistakenly believed he was lazy and useless. As a result, the hero treated him like dead weight and eventually kicked him out. In reality, Lloyd's master had once been a legendary hero who saved the world years ago. Even now, statues of his master could still be seen all across the world. For 3 days Lloyd searched desperately for work, but every party he met already had a fixed lineup. Meanwhile, the girl who had brought him there introduced herself as Yui, the leader of an S-rank adventurer party and a skilled swordswoman. She hoped Lloyd would join their team. However, Lloyd immediately replied, I haven't agreed to join yet. Some of Yui's teammates suggested giving up on the mission entirely. Without a proper white mage, they believed the request could not be completed. None of them thought Lloyd would be capable of replacing their previous healer. But Yui refused to give up. If we abandon this mission, what will happen to the innocent people who requested our help, she said. Curious, Lloyd asked why they didn't simply transfer the mission to another party. The answer surprised him. It was an A-rank request, which meant only A-rank parties or higher could accept it. Unfortunately, every A-rank party in the town was already busy, leaving only their S-rank team available to take the job. Lloyd was shocked. This was the highest rank among adventurers. Although he wanted to help, the trauma from being rejected by the hero's party had sunk deep into his heart. Lloyd truly believed that he was weak and incompetent. Yui then suggested, if you can prove that you're strong enough, wouldn't that solve the problem? Before he realized what was happening, Lloyd was taken outside the town to demonstrate his support magic. Yui asked him to show them his strengthening magic so they could judge his abilities. Lloyd felt nervous and ashamed, worried he would disappoint them. One teammate complained that the request was too vague and suggested giving Lloyd a specific task. So Yui proposed a challenge. Cast enhancement magic on all of us at the same time. Everyone was shocked. That was something an ordinary white mage could never accomplish. Lloyd, however, looked confused. Is that really all the test requires? He asked. Seeing his reaction, Yui added another condition. You must do it in a single cast. No buffing us one by one. Lloyd became even more puzzled. When he still hadn't acted, some teammates told him not to force himself. But Lloyd replied, I'm already doing my best. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Lloyd suddenly summoned his staff from thin air without saying a word. Instantly, all 4 members received 5 different enhancement effects at the same time. Yui stared in disbelief. Where did that staff come from? It's storage magic, Lloyd replied casually. However, the others had never even heard of such magic before. Lloyd then asked, do you want to test how effective the buffs are? Everyone looked confused. The spell had already finished, yet they hadn't heard any chant. Still, their bodies clearly felt different. Yui decided to test it. She swung her sword at a large tree nearby and effortlessly sliced through the trunk. Everyone was stunned. The effect was incredible. Lloyd calmly explained. I applied 5 different enhancement effects at once. I thought a single buff for everyone might be too simple, so I used higher level effects instead. His explanation left the entire group speechless. Seeing their silence, Lloyd assumed they were disappointed. I'm sorry for showing you something so unimpressive, he said. It seems I'm not qualified to join your party. He turned to leave. Please wait. Yui quickly called out. Only then did everyone learn that Lloyd had previously been a member of the Heroes Party, one of the 4 legendary hero teams in the world. Embarrassed, Lloyd said. I was kicked out because I was too weak. The group stared at him in shock. If Lloyd was considered weak, then what were they? The bespectacled mage among them said she had never seen enhancement magic this powerful before. Yet Lloyd insisted that there must be many people stronger than him out there. At that moment, they realized something important. Lloyd had a completely distorted understanding of his own strength. Later, Lloyd asked why their previous white mage hadn't returned. They explained that her name was Clem. She had a younger sister at home who was seriously ill. Balancing adventuring work with caring for her sister had quickly ruined her health. Eventually, Clem chose to leave the party herself, saying she didn't want to become a burden. Even after she left, everyone in the party still worried deeply about her. To them, she would always remain their teammate. Hearing the story, Lloyd felt a deep sense of admiration. Curious, the protagonist asked what illness Clem's younger sister was suffering from. They explained that it was a rare disease that gradually turned the body into magic crystals. Coincidentally, the protagonist had once studied under an S-rank adventurer mentor, so he knew quite a lot about magic crystals. They were condensed forms of magical energy that could gradually crystallize nearby matter. Because of that knowledge, he suggested going to Clem's house to personally examine her sister. When they arrived, he went straight to the point and asked about the girl's condition. It turned out that both Clem and her sister had once been adventurers. During a mission, the two were separated for a short time. Soon after, her sister was found injured and unconscious. The protagonist decided that seeing the patient in person would make it easier to understand the symptoms. However, the moment he entered the room, he sensed something strange. The room was filled with a dark and unstable magical aura. The girl's arms and legs had already begun to turn into crystal, and the transformation was slowly spreading to other parts of her body. After examining her, the protagonist calmly said that if his guess was correct, he might be able to cure her. Clem could hardly believe it. She had already invited many high-level white mages to help, but all of them had failed. After thinking for a moment, the protagonist explained his theory. Her sister was likely injured by a high-purity magic crystal, which allowed an extremely dense concentration of magic power to enter her body. Clem confirmed that during their previous mission they had been collecting magic crystals, and her sister's injury was located at the waist. The magical energy had entered through that wound and spread throughout her body, causing the crystallization symptoms. Once the treatment began, the protagonist cast a special spell that reversed the flow of magical energy, allowing him to absorb the unstable magic from her body. After all, it was the uncontrolled magical power that caused the crystallization. Therefore, the magic inside her body needed to be reduced to nearly zero. At the same time, he also used healing magic to restore her body. Clem could not fully understand what he was doing, but she could sense that this was not ordinary healing magic. The protagonist explained that normal healing spells consumed a lot of magic power while producing limited results. However, in this case, it was useful because it allowed him to expend the enormous amount of magic he had just absorbed. Yui, who was not familiar with magic, didn't completely understand the process. She only knew that it looked incredibly impressive. In reality, the protagonist was simultaneously using two completely different types of magic, while his body endured the pressure of a massive flow of magical energy. For an ordinary mage, such a feat would be impossible. Yet the results appeared almost immediately. The crystal covering the girl's body slowly disappeared. Her body gradually returned to normal. Finally, she opened her eyes and softly called out, "Big sister." Clem was overwhelmed with emotion. Afterward, she sincerely thanked the protagonist for saving her sister. Once her sister recovered, the two of them planned to continue working as adventurers again. However, Clem said that if the protagonist joined the team, she would feel completely at ease leaving her old comrades in his care. The other team members also expressed their gratitude. But the protagonist simply smiled awkwardly and said, "It's nothing. I didn't really do anything special." The others laughed. There he goes again, being too humble. But I'm serious, he replied. Still, everyone knew that their gratitude was sincere. At that moment, the protagonist suddenly remembered the unfair treatment he had received in the hero's party. This time, however, things were different. He decided that he truly wanted to join Yui's team. Everyone was delighted. With such an incredible support mage joining them, the strength of the party would surely increase tremendously. The protagonist himself could hardly believe it. In the hero's party, he had been hated for supposedly being lazy and useless. Yet in this S-rank adventurer team, he became an all-purpose support mage, someone everyone relied on. Even when he occasionally gave strategic suggestions during battles, no one criticized him. Instead, they praised him for his knowledge and ability. "You've helped us a lot," they said. "You're really good at these things. From now on, we'll leave it to you." To celebrate the protagonist joining the party, the team prepared a large table filled with delicious food and held a small celebration together. The result surprised everyone. Once the protagonist started eating, he simply couldn't stop. He had never tasted food this delicious before. The others were shocked. To them, the food on the table was nothing special. But seeing the dishes in front of him, the protagonist couldn't help wondering what kind of meals he had been eating all his life. He then talked about the life he used to live with his S-rank mentor. Most of the time, the ingredients his master used were just weeds from the garden, mushrooms picked in the forest, or simple roasted wild meat. The girl with glasses was stunned. That can't even be called cooking. Everyone suddenly became curious about the protagonist's master. Could that person also be a legendary white mage? However, the protagonist shook his head. "If I had to say, my master specializes in attack magic. Most of her research ends with explosions." The girl with glasses was even more shocked. "A combat mage trains someone like you, a support genius." She immediately said that if she ever had the chance, she wanted to learn from his master. The protagonist quickly stopped her. "Please don't." He remembered the brutal training he had gone through in the past and sincerely advised her not to study under his master. Even so, he admitted that his master also had a gentle side. After dinner, everyone began discussing their next mission. This time, their task was to eliminate a group of monsters that had been destroying a farm. The protagonist quickly noticed something strange. If it was truly a monster herd, that meant many different types of monsters were gathering together. Normally, monsters of different species rarely formed a single group. Still, since the client had given the request, they had no choice but to investigate. Yui said firmly. "If someone needs help, it's the duty of adventurers to answer that call." Everyone was excited to see the protagonist's support magic in action again. To them, he was already a top-tier support mage. But the protagonist grew nervous. The higher their expectations were, the more disappointed they might become. Yui sighed helplessly and hoped he would gain more confidence. However, he simply couldn't. He still believed that he had been kicked out of the hero's party because he wasn't strong enough. Yet compared to arrogant adventurers who relied only on strength, the team actually preferred someone humble like him. They agreed to meet the next morning at the entrance of the inn. But when everyone headed toward the inn, the protagonist walked in the opposite direction. The red-haired warrior quickly stopped him. "You're going the wrong way." Embarrassed, the protagonist admitted he didn't have money to stay at the inn. The warrior sighed and handed him a small pouch of coins. "Don't worry, it's not free. We'll just deduct it from the mission reward later." The protagonist was genuinely touched. This team was full of kind people. He decided that he absolutely couldn't let them down. The next morning, Yui arrived carrying a huge bag of luggage. But she quickly noticed that the others had nothing in their hands. It turned out the protagonist had used storage magic to store everyone's belongings. Yui's eyes lit up with excitement. This is amazing. We don't have to carry heavy bags anymore. To everyone's surprise, the protagonist even said he could teach them how to use storage magic. After all, everyone possessed magic power, so learning it shouldn't take too long. The entire team immediately begged him to teach them. While traveling to the mission location, they saw a mountain range in the distance. Beyond those mountains was the Demon Kingdom. Although the demons currently lived peacefully there, everyone knew that one day they might invade the human world again. Along the way, the team stopped near a river to rest. The girls were drenched in sweat and decided to move somewhere nearby to bathe. Meanwhile, the protagonist stayed behind to collect firewood. Suddenly, he heard a scream. Looking toward the river, he saw a Gerado monster emerging from the water. The situation was terrible. The girls had no clothes on and their weapons were still with him. Seeing them cornered with nowhere to escape, the protagonist immediately stepped in to distract the monster. While the girls ran toward the shore, he quickly threw their weapons back to them and cast enhancement buffs at the same time. Let's go. Right. One of the mages fired a simple fireball spell. To everyone's shock, the fireball instantly blew the monster to pieces. Even the girl with glasses was stunned. A normal fireball should never have that much power. But of course, the real reason was the protagonist's powerful buffs. After the danger passed, the pink-haired girl asked the protagonist to store their weapons again. But he hesitated. The scabbard is still on the other side of the river. Everyone laughed awkwardly. Later, the protagonist took the opportunity to teach them storage magic. He explained it simply. You just create a small space in your palm and place objects inside. The others stared at him in confusion. Even the protagonist looked puzzled. Is it really that difficult? Eventually, they decided to try. The girl with glasses suggested that since it was magic, they should at least chant a storage spell. Surprisingly, it worked on the first try. Only then did everyone realize something important. Unlike the protagonist, they couldn't cast magic without chanting. Still, the girl with glasses successfully learned her first storage spell. That night, Yui and the protagonist took the first watch together. She was still embarrassed about what had happened earlier during the bath, but she sincerely thanked him for saving them. She also thanked him for agreeing to join their team. Although the protagonist said he had simply been looking for work, Yui felt as if she had forced him into the party. When he asked why she was so determined to complete the mission, Yui told him about her past. When she was a child, her village had been attacked by monsters. Many of her relatives and friends died. She was the only survivor. That was why she could never ignore a monster attack. If the monsters destroyed the farms, nearby villages and towns would also suffer. Suddenly, the protagonist interrupted her. He immediately woke the resting teammates. Nearby, a large group of magic spiders was moving through the forest. The situation matched the mission description perfectly. They decided to retreat quietly. Unfortunately, someone stepped on a branch, making a loud noise. The spiders instantly noticed them. The team ran as fast as they could, but the spiders blocked their path. The girl with glasses lost her staff when it was pulled away by spider silk. Soon the area was covered in sticky webs. The protagonist immediately gave orders. Stop the spiders. At the same time, he cast 5 different enhancement buffs on the entire team. Yui rushed forward first, cutting through the webs and clearing a path. The archer jumped into a tree and retrieved the mage's staff. Yui then charged at the spiders and cut off their front legs, stopping their movement. Another spider appeared. Are you ready? Fireball cross. Under the protagonist's coordination, the team quickly eliminated all the spiders safely. After the battle, he suddenly realized he had given orders again without permission. But unlike the hero's party, no one criticized him. Instead, they praised him. You did great. If you're good at commanding, you should do it more often. The protagonist couldn't believe it. Since being kicked out of the hero's party and joining this S-rank adventurer team, the praise he had received far exceeded anything from before. However, the constant humiliation he had endured before had completely distorted his self-confidence. To prove his worth, he volunteered to take the night watch every single day. The girls wanted to rotate the duty so he wouldn't get tired. But he insisted on doing it himself. After all, he had already become used to staying awake all night during his time in the hero's party. During the day, he frequently used detection magic to sense nearby monsters. Yui was amazed by how versatile he was. He only shrugged modestly. The range isn't very large, but it's better than nothing. Yui worried he was pushing himself too hard. But the girl with glasses believed everyone simply had their own pace. Sooner or later, the protagonist would open up about his past. And when he did, the truth would probably be beyond their imagination. Eventually, the team approached the farm and saw monsters occupying the area. Using detection magic, the protagonist realized something strange. Within his detection range, all monsters were gathered only in that location. Where had the others gone? Normally, the forest should have stronger monsters guarding their territories. Suddenly, the archer's sharp eyes noticed something unusual at the farm. The protagonist enhanced his eyesight with magic. At the center of the farm stood a strange black crystal, surrounded by dark mist. He immediately enhanced everyone's vision so they could see it clearly. The crystal was emitting a mysterious power. The protagonist remembered something his master once told him. Among the beastmen, there were rare magic users capable of controlling monsters. The crystal seemed to attract nearby monsters. Realizing the danger, the protagonist quickly cast detection magic again. Just as he feared, another enormous wave of monsters was approaching from behind. The protagonist believed that it was the power of the magic stone that could attract and gather magical beasts. Everyone else couldn't understand why he would do that if the goal was simply to eliminate them. It seemed unnecessarily complicated. There had to be another purpose. The team began to argue over whether to stay or flee, but at this point, fleeing wasn't really an option. Leading the magical beasts into the town would put innocent civilians at risk. The protagonist quickly came up with a solution. He needed the archer to help destroy the black magic stone. The archer was confident he could hit it, but his attack alone wasn't powerful enough. The protagonist could compensate for the lack of power, helping the archer to shatter the black stone. This was possible because he could simultaneously cast enhancement magic on both a person and their weapon. Could he really enhance both at the same time? Not many could do that. But the protagonist reasoned that hitting the target in one shot also required the archer to have solid skill and experience. Once the magic stone was destroyed, the magical beasts at the farm immediately began attacking each other. This allowed the team to focus on the 7 magical beasts behind them. The girl with glasses stood alone in front, waiting for the beasts to approach. Only when they were about to charge did the protagonist give the order to attack a firestorm. His teammates were stunned. What had he just done? The firepower was far beyond normal. Calmly, the protagonist explained that he had simply enhanced the magic to increase power and reduce mana consumption. You remained speechless. It was more than enough. Next, the protagonist instructed the girl with glasses to use wind magic. The flames, strengthened by wind magic, would incinerate the beasts and the forest, while the airborne units were blinded by thick smoke. At the same time, the protagonist used detection magic and shared his consciousness, allowing the archer to lock onto flying targets through the smoke and strike accurately. Then came the final stage. The girl with glasses said she had no mana left. Seeing this, the protagonist immediately replenished her mana on the spot. She felt revitalized instantly, but the protagonist nearly drained himself completely. Afterward, she summoned heavy rain magic to extinguish the fire. You and the red-haired adventurer finally had the chance to finish off any remaining trapped beasts. S-rank adventurers understood how critical a versatile support could be. As a result, the protagonist's excellence caused jealousy among the other adventurers. They deliberately oppressed him, labeling him useless, and he was expelled from the team. Fortunately, he was quickly recruited by another S-rank team. After completing a commission, the protagonist discovered that a much larger plot lay behind it. He deduced that the mastermind's real target was the town they were currently in. Unsurprisingly, the commission had been a trap, designed to lure away high-level adventurers and weaken the town's defenses. In the end, the teammates trusted the protagonist's judgment. To minimize risk, they needed to return to the town as fast as possible. The protagonist cast haste enhancement magic, accelerating the entire team. Moving at incredible speed, they were soon not far from the town, on track to arrive within the day. The girl with glasses worried about burdening him. Maintaining enhancement magic continuously consumed a lot of mana. The protagonist reassured her, only for those unaccustomed to continuous casting. Once you master the technique, mana consumption decreases. She realized that he had practiced this countless times. After all, the protagonist had been left to survive alone in the deep forest from a young age by his S-rank master. As a white mage, survival was incredibly difficult. To stay alive, he had to keep running and continuously use enhancement magic. You felt pained knowing the hardships he endured, but the protagonist merely considered it a matter of skill development. The girls insisted that such training wasn't normal. The protagonist misunderstood their remark, thinking they implied that his S-rank master's training was trivial. Indeed, S-rank adventurers were in a different league. After resting, the group resumed their journey. Everyone marveled at the protagonist's haste magic. It allowed them to run much faster than normal without tiring. Suddenly, he braked sharply, causing a chain collision behind them, sensing an ominous presence. He decided to split the group. The others returned to the town, while he went alone to investigate. You worried he couldn't handle potential enemies alone and urged the group to accompany him. Soon, they discovered a small house nearby. The protagonist sensed both magical beasts and another force inside. You panicked. Could these magical beasts be from the Mage Nation? Previously, they had only glimpsed the Mage Nation from across the mountain, a land inhabited by mages, potentially planning to invade human territory. The protagonist was surprised. The Mage Nation should have been strictly restricted from entering human lands. Everyone was silent. The protagonist had lost his childhood memories. The war had ended during his training under his master. They realized he was a war orphan. He paid no mind, focusing instead on confirming the magical beast incursion. Here, he sensed a force similar to the magic stone that attracted beasts, confirming the mages were behind the farm attack. If the Mage Nation's target truly was the town, inaction was impossible. You agreed. Don't hesitate. Act now. If we retreat, they might escape. Unexpectedly, when they sneaked into the house, it was empty. The protagonist sensed the magical beasts had hidden underground. He cast enhancement magic on the girl with glasses, creating an opening in the ground to storm in. You charged with his sword, forcing a mage to reveal their intentions. When an enemy tried to attack stealthily, she chose defense, allowing the others to escape. The remaining magical beasts were easily defeated through teamwork. The fleeing beasts had taken a captive beast girl with them, emerging onto the surface. The team quickly surrounded them, capturing them within 2.5 seconds. The beasts preferred death over fighting alone. The protagonist cast defensive magic, causing one to inadvertently strike itself. They discovered inside the cocoon was a beast girl. The protagonist healed her with magic. The girl with glasses was astonished. This was her first time seeing such advanced healing magic. You was accustomed, knowing the protagonist could even cure monostone-related ailments of previous users. The protagonist explained that it was improved magic, astounding everyone again, as ordinary people could not perform such feats. The protagonist was surprised, so this was normal? Though often overworked by his master, he realized the training had value. Are you okay? Why were you there? Does anything hurt? How do you feel? What's your name? He asked the beast girl, who revealed that she had been forced by the mages to create the black magic stone. Everything became clear. The mage nation had been using magical beasts as weapons, forcing her to be their tool. Once the town was occupied, an invasion of the human world would be easier. At that moment, the magical beasts started advancing in groups of 7. Concerned for the town's safety, the team rushed forward. The protagonist hoped to utilize the beast girl's power. He instructed the team to return to the town and alert everyone, while he would guide the beast girl to intercept the advancing beasts. The yellow-haired warrior could not fathom that he had mistakenly expelled the true talent. Since the protagonist left, no white mage could match his skill. No one else could perform recording magic or simultaneously enhance more than 2 types of magic. After his departure, the girls realized their own abilities could no longer reach the previous peak. The wise warrior refused to believe it, insisting the protagonist was useless. At this time, the Night Corps reported that a massive horde of magical beasts was attacking, requiring the S-rank team's support. The knight arrogantly decided to take charge, seeking to prove his strength to the townspeople, ignoring the concern of his teammates. Meanwhile, the protagonist and the S-rank team split into 2 groups. He led the beast girl to intercept the second wave, honoring her wish to avoid killing the beasts if possible. The protagonist promised he would help her achieve that goal. He asked whether her magic could return the beasts to where they came from, but she was unsure due to their overwhelming numbers. He offered to supplement her mana and support her magic, to which she agreed. Unexpectedly, their spellcasting was suddenly interrupted. The knight continued his incompetence, disparaging the adventurers in town while serving as a shield. The guild master intervened in time, reminding everyone that the priority was defeating the magical beasts, not fighting each other. The knight outlined his crude plan: each wizard would cast their strongest magic, killing 10 beasts each, while he and the Night Corps would block them, giving the wizards time to recharge. However, the wizards admitted they had never seen such magic. Even at maximum power, they could only defeat 1 beast at a time. The adventurer was furious. How could this be? Wasn't this something anyone with skill could do? Yet even the mages in his team admitted they couldn't do it. Not long ago, they had been unable to use their magic as effectively as before. And it wasn't just her, everyone in the team experienced the same decline. The adventurer couldn't understand when this change had occurred. The girl spoke frankly. After expelling the protagonist, the adventurer had been angry, felt betrayed, and was humiliated by Lena. Betrayed? You don't realize this only affects you, then it's all because of you. This foolish adventurer, drunk on his status, had never seriously trained himself. Feeling exposed in front of everyone, he was embarrassed, but Nina could no longer hold back. You're no longer fit to call yourself an adventurer. Damn it, what are you talking about? Get lost. What? What do you mean by that? The adventurer couldn't believe he had been so incompetent. Unable to bear the strange stares of those around him, he fled pitifully. The other girls hurried after him. One had to admit, girls from this world were remarkably kind. Someone like him, and yet they still followed him to the end. Only Lena chose to leave the adventurer team on the spot. She was willing to fight the magical beasts alongside everyone else. The first thing she did was announce the protagonist's name, asking if anyone present knew him. Meanwhile, the protagonist had found the black magic stone in the forest. Its malevolent power had been interfering with the beast girl's magic. But judging by the number of magical beasts, there had to be several stones in the forest. All of them needed to be neutralized before she could regain control over her magic. The protagonist said it was no problem. He simultaneously used shared consciousness and detection magic, allowing the beast girl to locate all the stones. Not only that, but the protagonist could also use invisibility magic. What kind of divine being are you? She asked. I'm not suspicious, he replied calmly. No, I didn't mean that. The two quietly approached the stones to purify their evil energy. High-rank adventurers trusted their lives to the protagonist. Lena explained that the core of the adventurer team wasn't the adventurer or the saint, but the white mage who had been expelled. The adventurer title had blinded everyone with pride, much like using a beauty filter for too long, convincing themselves their achievements were entirely their own. In reality, it was all thanks to the protagonist's magic support. Now, finding the protagonist could change everything. The guild master informed them that the protagonist wasn't in the town. He was out on a mission with the S-rank team, several days' travel away. But Lena understood that the protagonist would use magic to shorten travel time. Everyone decided to take a gamble, betting that the protagonist and the S-rank team would return in time. They dug deep trenches and had archers attack from a distance to weaken the magical beasts. Shield bearers pushed the beasts into the trenches, letting mages blanket them in fire before using water magic to sweep them away. By midnight, the S-rank team was almost at the town. The beast girl had successfully purified the final magic stone, but had made a small mistake. The demon wolves and leopard beasts, bitter rivals, immediately attacked each other upon awakening, inadvertently breaking the beast girl's invisibility magic. Sensing danger, the protagonist revealed himself, drawing attention. Meanwhile, the town's front line was breached. To make matters worse, new waves of magical beasts continued to appear. At the critical moment, a massive fire spell streaked across the battlefield. It was the S-rank team intervening. The beast girl noticed that the protagonist had been dodging without attacking, remembering it was her daytime request. Seeing him threatened from both sides, she finally succeeded in casting her magic, guiding the magical beasts to leave peacefully. Her magic wasn't about controlling them, it was about communicating sincerely. But the battle in the town was still fierce. Even with S-rank members, humans were at a disadvantage. Lena, trying to protect her teammates, was bitten on the arm by a demon wolf. Seeing the beasts overwhelming the crowd, human forces were about to be defeated. Suddenly, in the distance, a girl's voice sang out. The beast girl and the protagonist arrived just in time. With the protagonist's support, she could communicate with all the magical beasts, causing them to retreat one by one. Afterwards, she curiously asked what magic the protagonist had used to assist. He answered calmly, I just added a few layers of mana efficiency and enhancement to boost your magic's effectiveness. He insisted that it was mostly thanks to the beast girl, though the finer details would be explained later. Although the beasts had left, the Mage Nation still awaited their confrontation. The S-rank adventurers could hardly believe it. His rigorous training had made the protagonist incredibly strong, yet extremely humble. Even as the town's savior, he still considered himself inexperienced, simply because he had faced the final wave of magical beasts alone. With the Mage Nation obstructing the beast girl's control magic, the protagonist had no choice but to enhance both of them with speed magic. The two of them dashed through the magical beast forces. At one point, the protagonist grabbed the beast girl's waist, leaping across a deep trench together to reunite with the others. Having continuously cast support magic, the protagonist felt completely drained. Suddenly, the guild master appeared, stating that everyone could rely on the protagonist alone, leaving him stunned. Lena, you're here too? He asked. From her account, he realized that the useless adventurer had caused unnecessary conflict with the adventurers while abandoning his duties. The yellow-haired adventurer truly wasn't fit to hold the title. Seeing Lena's severely injured arm, the protagonist immediately healed her, though it further drained his own mana. Lena blamed herself, it was thanks to him that they had once been the strongest adventurer team. Yet she failed to acknowledge his contribution. Although the yellow-haired adventurer had expelled him, nothing could stop him from helping. The protagonist wanted to say it was his own inadequacy, but by then, the magical beasts were approaching. Seeing the knights brimming with confidence, the protagonist was about to warn them that these were no ordinary magical beasts, when the two sides clashed. Unsurprisingly, the attacks of both adventurers and knights proved ineffective. At that moment, only the protagonist's support magic could turn the tide. However, with his current mana, he could only enhance the physical abilities of the frontline fighters and empower the magic of the mages. Moreover, the effect would last only 2 minutes. Seeing this, Yui quickly encouraged everyone, reminding them that the magic they had received from the white mage enhancement was extremely powerful. At first, people were skeptical until you swung a single strike and cut a magical beast in half. Only then did everyone realize their bodies truly felt different. The protagonist issued his final arrangements: archers were to support the mages, the enhanced guards would protect the bespectacled girl at the front line. With his magic support, the magical beasts were gradually defeated under a storm of fire. But when only the last beast remained, the protagonist's support magic suddenly failed. "You won't get through," he muttered. Straining his mana to the limit, he could barely enhance a single weapon. Seeing this, Yui called on 2 enhanced guards to assist and seized the moment to reclaim her great sword, delivering the final strike to defeat the beast. The town achieved a decisive victory. Meanwhile, the S-rank Masters team had been quietly observing the protagonist's performance. At that time, the mastermind had calculated that the town should have been overrun by 30,000 magical beasts. Yet unexpectedly, his subordinates reported that the beast army had fled on their own. The remaining magical beasts were entirely eliminated. When the Beast Nation arrived seeking retribution, they found the town completely deserted, leaving them enraged and powerless to act against the one who had ruined their plans. The protagonist collapsed from exhaustion, falling into a deep sleep for an entire day and night. When he awoke, Yui urged him to follow her. To his surprise, the town square was already packed with residents, all calling him their savior. Overwhelmed by the crowd, he panicked and hurriedly closed his room door, feeling a bit afraid. Meanwhile, the young man who had returned to the protagonist's S-rank master reported that the protagonist had been expelled from the adventurer team and was now part of some S-rank adventurer group. The master sighed. For the protagonist, this was a form of cultivation, but there was something he couldn't ignore. The protagonist's serious personality prevented him from recognizing how truly extraordinary he was. Perhaps some people might dislike this trait. The master's regret stemmed entirely from Yui, who had been overly strict to prevent the protagonist from repeating her own mistakes. At this point, the protagonist still could not understand why the town's residents were pursuing him. His team reluctantly explained, "They don't want to eat you, they just want to express their gratitude, since you're the hero who saved everyone." Despite this, the protagonist remained modest, claiming he had only contributed a small part. The team replied, "There you go again. Setting your standards too low only makes life harder. You should have a little more confidence." Surrounded by everyone, the protagonist finally appeared in public. Cheers erupted. The main hero had arrived. The protagonist assumed that it was the knights and frontline adventurers who protected the town, but both sides agreed that it was actually him who gave them the strength to fight. Thus, he was recognized as the town's savior. The yellow-haired adventurer could no longer remain calm, shocked that the protagonist had become a hero. Meanwhile, the white-haired girl was worried. Having refused to fight and lost her adventurer status, the yellow-haired adventurer could only vent his frustration on the girls before leaving. The town now regarded the protagonist as a hero, and he could no longer stay a moment longer. Today was also the day for the S-rank master and their team to commemorate Xin6's sacrifice in defeating the Demon King. The protagonist mentioned that the Beast Nation had intended to attack his town, exploiting the beast girl's magic. The question remained, why had they chosen this moment to act? He suspected that the Demon King might be reincarnating. The master initially refused to believe it. The Demon King had been destroyed and could not return, else Xin6's sacrifice would have been in vain. At the same time, the protagonist and his group were summoned by the Lord, discovering that the beast girl was also present. Everyone was stunned. The Lord had managed this region for over a decade but still looked surprisingly young. The protagonist was not surprised. His S-rank master also appeared as youthful as a little girl. The Lord promised to teach the girls the secrets of maintaining their beauty, but first, matters of state were more important. It turned out the Beast Girl was the second princess of the Beast Empire. The Lord asked everyone what they thought of her magic. The protagonist replied honestly, it was both formidable and terrifying. If misused by someone with ill intent, it could cause disaster. Therefore, under no circumstances could she fall into the Beast Nation's hands again. Currently, the Empire was urgently searching for her, and the Lord entrusted them to secretly escort the Beast Girl home. Sending knights openly would be too conspicuous, and the Beast Nation would never let her go again. The protagonist could not have imagined that the captured Beast Girl was actually a princess. Thus, they were entrusted by the Lord to secretly escort her home under the Beast Nation's pursuit. 10 days into their journey, they arrived at a town where they would spend the night. Yui mentioned it was a famous hot spring town, and surprisingly, the Beast Girl had never bathed in a hot spring. The archers, including Yui, were still somewhat careless. This was Yu Yan's way of approaching the Beast Girl. Even though it was an escort mission, being too tense could make the Beast Girl uncomfortable. Moreover, she rarely went outside. Yui likely saw this as a chance to broaden her horizons. The archers admired that the team leader had planned this carefully. After bathing in the hot spring, they would go eat something delicious. Let's go to the hot spring right now, Yui said. The Beast Girl was shy, having never bathed with others before, embarrassed at the thought of being seen naked. Silica understood this, knowing the first step was always difficult. Yui reassured her, everyone here was female, so there was nothing to worry about. Once in the water, the Beast Girl was amazed by the hot spring. Yui couldn't help but glance at the Beast Girl's smooth skin, her figure flawless, the true appearance of a princess. Embarrassed, the Beast Girl insisted she wasn't beautiful, too thin compared to the others. Yui looked at her glasses and nodded. Her figure had improved as well, not just her chest. Despite eating plenty along the way, her magic gave her strength. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the protagonist worried that approaching the royal capital increased the chance of encountering the Beast Nation. If they tried to recapture the Beast Girl, the next stretch of their journey would be critical. In the kingdom's territory, the Beast Nation couldn't launch large-scale attacks, only small squads could strike. Therefore, he needed to improve his detection magic. He proposed staying a few more days to prepare, and Silica agreed. She also wanted to experiment with a few spells. Dagus wished to change his equipment, but all shops he visited had nothing suitable. By chance, he met Yui and the Beast Girl leisurely exploring. Knowing Dagus wanted a new shield, the Beast Girl mentioned a small, old shop he could try his luck at. Inside, Dagus indeed found many good items, though the shopkeeper initially treated him poorly, thinking he was a mere subordinate. Soon, a group of low-rank adventurers arrived to cause trouble, mocking Dagus for buying items. They arrogantly boasted that their leader, an A-rank adventurer, was a big figure in this town far beyond someone like Dagus. Dagus muttered, "Then why is your A-rank leader wasting time on this?" The group had been eyeing a piece of equipment the shopkeeper refused to sell them, citing their inexperience. Furious at their arrogance, Dagus pulled out his S-rank adventurer badge, leaving them speechless. He had avoided showing it before, feeling it was foolish to boast. The shopkeeper then asked Dagus for help, given his strength. Meanwhile, the protagonist worked on improving his support magic. He had considered learning new magic, but Yui wondered why not focus on offensive spells. Comparing Silica's fire magic to a forest fire, the protagonist's attack was like a single matchstick, highlighting Silica's incredible power. She trained alone, recalling that without the protagonist during the previous beast attack, the town would have been destroyed. She resolved to become stronger, experimenting with mana compression to enhance explosive spells, a high-level fire magic skill. Despite days of practice, it remained difficult, but she anticipated failure and kept training relentlessly. Yui became ecstatic, exclaiming that Silica was a genius, known from a young age as a chosen one of magic. But Silica's true strength didn't come from talent alone. After finishing her sword training as a child, Yui intended to go have breakfast but noticed that Silica was still practicing magic repeatedly. No matter how many times she failed, she never gave up. Before success, no matter how difficult or time-consuming, she could endure it. Again and again, keeping at it. Explode. Perfect. Success. Silica, embarrassed, thought, why am I always so clumsy? Though she appeared composed in front of others, when alone she could be careless. At this moment, she was soaked from training. Suddenly, she heard a sound behind her. It was Dagus. Earlier, the shopkeeper had shown him the store's treasure, a massive shield crafted by a renowned blacksmith who had passed away. Made from the hardest material in the world, it could block any attack, a legendary shield that could never be destroyed. But it was extremely heavy, impossible for ordinary adventurers to wield, which is why the shopkeeper had refused to sell it to the troublesome low-rank adventurers. The troublesome adventurers had harassed the shop daily, but now the shopkeeper decided to sell the shield to Dagus on one condition. Earlier that morning, explosions had been heard near the forest's hot spring. People worried that a new type of magical beast or a secret experiment by the Beast Nation had appeared. If Dagus could resolve the issue, the shopkeeper would grant him the right to own the shield. To everyone's surprise, the culprit was Silica herself. Silica was stunned. She had unintentionally been mistaken for a magical beast by the shopkeeper and the Beast Nation. Only when she turned around did she realize her magic had instantly evaporated the hot spring. She quickly apologized and restored it. Impressed, the shopkeeper allowed Dagus to take the shield. Even though Dagus had not caused the incident, the shopkeeper recognized his skill and character. The team was delighted, their strength elevated another step. Yui was curious about which new spell Silica had mastered. Silica had originally intended to keep it secret. However, Dagus openly remarked that the spell's power was enough to blow away the entire hot spring. The archers felt pressured seeing this, even he had to take action. Yui, taking the lead, said, "No need to rush. Eat carefully, do work carefully. For now, let's go get something to eat and fill our stomachs." The protagonist could not have imagined that his black-clad S-rank master at home had been worried about him. Yet too shy to search for her runaway disciple herself, she had asked her team to check that he was safe. "Is everything all right? Only Lily could go? Too bad, I still need to find Lee." Meanwhile, the archers were troubled. Everyone else had grown more mature, leaving only him and team leader Yui stuck in place. His weapons were upgraded, yet special training was now too late. Unexpectedly, while lost in thought, he bumped into a young boy archer. After a brief exchange, the boy learned that the man in front of him was also an adventurer and pitifully requested to join his team. The archer agreed, thinking it was just for this instance. The boy's expression made him unable to refuse. Surprised, he wondered if the boy had no permanent teammates. After all, the archer profession was difficult alone. He soon discovered the truth: the boy was the lowest ranked E-class in the local guild, leaving no one willing to team up with him. Seeing the boy on the verge of tears, the archer comforted him, "I'm also E-class." Meanwhile, Yuusha contemplated trying all the local delicacies but worried about gaining weight. Suddenly, a commotion nearby caught her attention. A domineering noblewoman ordered her subordinates to punish a peasant child who had accidentally soiled her clothes. Yuusha quickly intervened. "Dare to interfere with me? Do you even know who I am?" "Who would know?" An enraged noblewoman has a problem with children. The noblewoman, furious, ordered her subordinates to act. Yuusha told the child to run ahead while she fought 3 of the noble's guards alone. The archer was escorting the boy on a mission to hunt crimson wolves. Only when the boy acted did the archer realize why he was considered the lowest ranked. His arrows were weak, inaccurate, and caused no damage. Yuusha used only pressure point strikes to avoid harming anyone. The noblewoman, angered, ordered her subordinates to act faster, thinking the rural girl posed no threat. Observers recognized that the girl in front of them was a young genius swordswoman who had become an S-rank adventurer. Unexpectedly, the noblewoman's smile turned sly. Hidden among the crowd were her accomplices, and Yuusha was ambushed by a mage from behind. This was a magical chain capable of draining stamina and mana gradually. Yuusha lost all resistance. Just as the noblewoman intended to kill her in broad daylight, she was unaware that a powerful expert was nearby. A mysterious female warrior appeared, blocking her path. Seeing the noblewoman's arrogant attitude, the woman vanished and reappeared in an instant, knocking her subordinates unconscious with a series of blows delivered at impossible speed. "Do you want to test yourself?" she asked. Yuusha inquired how to become as strong as her. There was a formidable white mage in the team named Lloyd whom Yuusha had always relied upon, motivating her to grow stronger. The woman revealed herself as Lilith, a teammate of the protagonist's master, and agreed to provide special training to Yuusha. Meanwhile, the protagonist encountered a bottleneck in his magic research. His team suggested he go outside for a walk. "I'll guide you," Lilith said, reluctantly reminding Yuusha not to follow strangers carelessly. Yuusha, confident in her judgment, trusted Lilith was safe. She casually conjured a massive sword from thin air, astonishing Yuusha, who had never seen stored magic before meeting the protagonist. Seeing that others also knew it now, she realized how narrow her previous world had been and resolved to learn the secret of true strength. Lilith's training was simple. You only needed to try chopping down a tree in front of her while standing in place. Lilith demonstrated, swinging a crescent-shaped blade infused with mana, cutting the massive tree from a distance. She explained, "Wrap mana around your blade and swing it lets you strike enemies from afar." Meanwhile, the protagonist was taken by the beast girl to soak his feet. He wanted to ask her, was her telepathic ability with magical beasts an ancient form of magic? She admitted that she had inherited ancient magic. The protagonist wondered if he could learn it might help his stalled magical research. Unfortunately, the beast girl said it was not possible. Because ancient magic had only produced a few people in hundreds of years who were born with the ability to use it, it was an extremely forbidden field. Legends say that anyone who is not a rightful heir but attempts to wield it would be punished by heaven. In the past, some succeeded in using this magic, but at the cost of their lives. Therefore, it was a domain that could not be touched recklessly. Seeing this, the protagonist agreed to redirect his research. Meanwhile, the boy, under the guidance of the archer, quickly mastered the half-bow technique. Together, they defeated the entire Red Wolf clan. Unexpectedly, a high-level magical beast, the moon spider, appeared, scavenging the corpses of the Red Wolf clan. The archer tried shooting arrows, but they couldn't penetrate its defenses. Only a powerful strike or continuous volley could pierce the moon spider's tough shell, and even then, he could not manage it. The boy then had an idea. "So that's another trick. Stored magic," he said. Afterward, the archer gave all the credit to the boy, as a token of thanks for helping him find a way to improve. The boy vaguely realized that the archer might be an incredibly strong adventurer. Dropping all pretenses, The archer admitted he was S rank. Meanwhile, Yui continued attempting to swing her mana-infused blade, but failed repeatedly. She found the skill extremely difficult. Lilith could not understand what was so hard. This level of challenge was normal for her. She wondered if she herself had not trained diligently enough. Yui felt the pressure. Controlling her mana while coordinating the sword technique was clearly an advanced skill. Lilith could wield it effortlessly, marking her as absurdly strong, but Yui refused to give up. Lilith was curious why Yui was in such a rush to become strong. Yui admitted that she had been overconfident in the past, thinking that being an S-rank adventurer made her stronger than anyone else. But the protagonist had shown her that there are always higher peaks. She hoped to become stronger so that she could proudly call herself his teammate. Lilith could not afford to fall behind. After rigorous practice, Yui finally succeeded. All right, she sighed in relief. Only then did she realize that, with Lilith's strength, the small cat could never have hurt her. Relaxing, Yui fainted. Lee was glad that the protagonist had a good friend. Night fell, and everyone worried as Yui had not returned. Eventually, a sound outside revealed Yui sleeping at the door. The next day, after resting, the team set out again. The protagonist felt frustrated. Everyone had improved, yet he had made no progress. I've optimized the magic I already know, studied spells useful for team combat, and developed new detection magic. That's all I managed. Isn't that still a considerable achievement? Meanwhile, Lilith complained to Marin that this investigation was exhausting, even requiring her to use the alias Lilith. It's all Marin's fault. She was too embarrassed to personally find her runaway disciple. But it seems she really missed the protagonist. Next time, she should have come herself. The protagonist, while escorting the Empire's Beast Princess, unexpectedly encountered the 4 heavenly kings of the Beast Nation. Due to the reckless arrogance of an S-rank adventurer, the princess once again fell into the hands of the Beast Nation. Previously, after failing to seize the human town, even the princess had been rescued by someone else. Now the 4 heavenly kings faced reprimand. Another failure would cost them their positions. Yet they didn't even know where the princess was currently held. Unexpectedly, the fugitive partner from before appeared, delivering urgent news. The Beast Princess was under escort by an S-rank adventurer team, currently en route to the capital. Meanwhile, the protagonist, casually walking and chatting, heard a rustle in the bushes. The team immediately took defensive stances, only to discover it was a lost forest rabbit. Using detection magic, the protagonist carefully confirmed no Beast Nation spies were nearby. Then he noticed everyone's expressions had changed. They seemed to have realized some profound truth. Confidence radiated from each teammate, unlike him, who constantly worried he might become a burden. Everyone relied on the protagonist's motivation to push themselves. Without him, they would lag behind. Confidence comes from understanding your own abilities. If you constantly underestimate yourself, you cannot unleash your full potential. At the same time, the protagonist's black-clad master, Marin, had already arrived in the capital ahead of him. She bypassed the security system using hypnosis, entered the royal palace, and located a hidden chamber in the library. Unexpectedly, the secret chamber opened on its own. The beast teammate Dude had detected Marin beforehand, sensing her distinctive mana aura. Marin explained that the Mateo kingdom was now ruled by the son of the Demon King. Since the great battle with the Demon King over a decade ago, the kingdom had been quiet, thanks to Marin's generation of overwhelmingly powerful adventurers. Because of that battle, Dude was trusted by the king to study magic in the capital. Her favorite pastimes were cosplaying and researching Marin's magic. Marin's spells could be cast without incantations, including her signature stored magic technique. However, Marin also had another objective, to verify whether half of the Mateo tome she held still contained enough power to seal the Demon King. The Beast Girl was astonished, could the Demon King really be close to resurgence? For now, they only had a chance, so preparation was necessary. The protagonist, now just a day's travel from the capital, detected interference with his detection magic. Suddenly, thick fog enveloped the forest. The bespectacled girl tried to clear it with wind magic, only to discover she couldn't draw her staff. The protagonist guessed with 99% certainty that the Beast Nation was behind it. For safety, they ran swiftly toward the town. The Beast Girl confirmed the Mateo tome still contained mana, including remnants of Sinvi's power. Marin considered it a last testament from Sinvi. She recounted to the Beast Girl about the disciple she had adopted. Once, the protagonist had inadvertently touched the Mateo tome, creating a compatible reaction, marking him as a chosen one like Marin and Sinvi. However, reaching that level was extremely difficult, only achievable by expert adventurers who had trained to M level. Yet the potential existed. Marin hoped the protagonist could eventually surpass Sinvi. She therefore often assigned him tasks beyond his current abilities. As the fog cleared, the 4 heavenly kings of the Beast Nation arrived. Though their minions were swiftly defeated, the 4 heavenly kings were so formidable that they ignored ordinary attacks. Yuusha seized the opportunity to swing her massive sword from behind, but her blade was blocked before touching the opponent. The protagonist realized it was a mana armor, a high-level skill using mana to defend. From there, the heavenly warlord also realized that the protagonist was the hero who had saved the town and immediately tried to trap him. The bespectacled girl quickly unleashed a fireball, only to find that the villain was also well versed in smoke-based techniques. At that moment, the ice spreading from the street quickly enveloped everyone, instantly protecting their hearts. Meanwhile, the demon tribe accomplice creating fog in the distance was personally confronted by Malin's blue-haired ally. That creature was too irritating to ignore, so he intended to deal with it decisively. Suddenly, in front of everyone, a beastman appeared, immediately mocking the protagonist's bravery as cowardly. It turned out he was the Princess Beastman's childhood friend and also part of the Empire's Ice Warriors. Since he didn't trust giving Cleva to a mediocre adventurer team, he had come personally to retrieve her. "You can't say that," Yu whispered, having heard that this Ice Warrior had a terrible personality. Being unbearable, the Empire's holy nation refused to recognize his adventurer title, though he didn't care about such a hollow honor anyway. Cleva was surprised he was still carrying this bag. It turned out it was a birthday gift she had made herself when she was little. "Made it yourself?" "Yes. So? Do you want to say something? Go on." "No. That attitude is far too rude." At that moment, the 4 heavenly warlords finally broke free. Seeing this, the Ice Warrior unleashed ice magic once more. Not only could he cast spells without incantations, but he could also use his own body as a magic staff without freezing. The heavenly warlords realized he wasn't an ordinary beastman. The Ice Warrior didn't bother talking to a demon about to be defeated, and no matter what techniques he tried, he couldn't beat the 4 heavenly warlords. Anyone trying to help was scolded away. "Geez, no need to be so harsh, right?" At that moment, the mastermind thought he had taken care of the blue-haired hero, but the next second, the opponent suddenly appeared behind him. It turned out all his tricks had been seen through by the blue-haired hero. Looking at the vial on the ground, the mastermind finally realized that the blue-haired ally was a legendary alchemist. "Back again? Running won't defeat me. What's the matter? Want me to punish you to death?" Normally, he wasn't this insolent. Looks like he's really angry this time. Finally, everyone understood why the Ice Warrior wasn't recognized as an official adventurer. His brazen attitude, attacking without a plan, made it impossible for others to help even when they wanted to. The protagonist noticed that the 4 heavenly warlords still hadn't counterattacked. In the next instant, sensing something was off, he hurriedly warned the Ice Warrior to be careful, but the other's brain was as flat as a human adventurer's. Shut up and don't tell me how to do things. As a result, the four heavenly warlords, who had been suppressing their magic all this time, suddenly struck, leaving the ice warrior unprepared. When their fists collided, it created a massive explosion. Even the blue-haired ally realized he had underestimated his opponent, but this allowed the enemy a chance to escape. When the smoke cleared, the protagonist immediately used magic to sense everyone, fortunately finding them safe, but Cleva once again fell into the hands of the four heavenly warlords. The protagonist could only watch helplessly as the Beast Princess was taken aboard the Demon Tribe's airship. The Holy Maiden, always the Holy Maiden. Weak in combat but first to deliver news. It was all because the Demon Tribe's four heavenly warlords had fused with a group of magic beasts to form a chimera, leaving one side with a doomed airship and the other with a boss eyeing the heart. The group quickly plotted an escape from the airship. Unexpectedly, the Beast Princess threw a tantrum. But the others were helpless. There was nothing they could do even if they wanted to save her. A few minutes earlier, because of the Ice Warrior's arrogant, solo-loving attitude, the protagonist had no choice but to watch as the Beast Princess was taken by the enemy again. The Ice Warrior hurriedly created an ice column shooting straight up, but still fell just short. The ice column suddenly shattered, sending him into free fall. Fortunately, the protagonist quickly directed Silica to use wind magic, helping the Ice Warrior land safely. Seeing that the enemy was about to charge again, the protagonist said, "I've got a plan." The Ice Warrior's attitude was sharp and sarcastic. "You've got a plan? Ha, as if you could help. You'd be lucky to come back alive. The Beast Princess being captured is your fault, you know. No brain wrinkles, no saving anyone. Besides, I'm only still alive thanks to your guidance." The Ice Warrior gritted his teeth. Bitter, but still trying to salvage the situation. "Just focus and do it. No complaining." Meanwhile, aboard the airship, it turned out the vessel could fly thanks to a mana battery made from the shattered remains of the Demon Lord. During the Great War over a decade ago, the previous Demon Lord had been shattered into hundreds of pieces, one of which ended up in the hands of the instant noodle head scientist. He analyzed the remaining Demon Lord DNA and built a machine capable of providing infinite mana. Unexpectedly, this instant noodlehead was a mad scientist who also wanted to study the Beast Princess's power, hoping to find a way to tame magical beasts himself. Suddenly, the airship alarm blared. The protagonist had stopped holding back. He reversed gravity magic, preventing the Ice Warrior's ice stairs from collapsing, allowing the protagonist to climb straight onto the airship. The four heavenly warlords saw this and approached. Following his usual pre-combat routine, the protagonist applied 5 different buffs to his allies. While the Ice Warrior distracted the four heavenly warlords, the protagonist secretly cast a debuff on them. Then, following his signal, the team began spamming skills continuously against the enemy. Acid Fog, blinding attacks the four heavenly warlords had no experience dodging. This move should work. As for me? Useless. The Ice Warrior's attacks were like hitting minnows. He tried to throw a punch, but his fist suddenly froze and shattered into pieces. The Ice Warrior explained, "Your hand has been damaged by the cold. The protagonist just applied a magic that blocked my pain perception. That's why the four heavenly warlords could only defend against visible attacks. Back in town, I could block the Ice Warrior's strike, but my hair still froze. He can only stop tangible attacks. His cold attacks are easily ignored, and without feeling pain, I didn't even notice getting hit. Enough. Return Cleva now." Hey, that's my line. When the magic wore off, the pain hit the four heavenly warlords, who turned and fled. In a desperate move, they released the captured magical beasts, only to be grabbed first by a giant snake. The instant noodlehead scientists saw this as a perfect opportunity to test the beast's reactions and immediately used a device to emit special sounds. The Ice Warrior took the chance to rescue the Beast Princess. However, the magical beasts, partially restrained, glared ferociously at the team. Seeing others ready to attack, the Beast Princess stepped in to protect them, gradually using her magic to free the beasts from control. Meanwhile, the airship was on the brink of destruction because the previous ancient magic had destabilized the Demon Lord's mana battery. To prevent an explosion, the scientist had to remove it. But the 4 heavenly warlords still sought to seize the Demon Lord battery. Curious, the scientists stayed to see what chemical reaction would occur. As soon as they touched, a reaction happened, the magical beasts became terrified and were drawn into a mana sphere. In the next moment, a fused monster appeared before them. The protagonist realized this was a chimera, something he had read about in the Black Silk Master's books, a terrifying creature containing multiple life forms in one body. The instant Noodlehead was thrilled. This is amazing. Truly fascinating. By now, the team realized the airship was also falling. The immediate priority was to escape. But the Beast Princess was worried about the fused magical beasts. Should I stay with them? While the team hesitated, the chimera blocked the exit. The Ice Warrior prepared to fight, but the princess stopped him. No, I can't let them die. Other attacks were useless. The protagonist, unlucky as ever, couldn't defend. If it weren't for the timely arrival of the Black Silk Master, he would have perished due to the Beast Princess's reckless compassion. The airship was about to collapse, and the exit was blocked by a hybrid monster combining the 4 heavenly warlords and other beasts. Seeing the SOS situation, the protagonist acted quickly, instructing the team to press against the walls and store all equipment. In the next instant, he turned off gravity magic, throwing the airship off balance. While the hybrid boss staggered from the turbulence, the team finally had a chance to escape. Unfortunately, the hybrid boss had wings and pursued them swiftly. Without much thought, they jumped off first, planning later. The Ice Warrior created rock platforms to cushion their landing. The bespectacled girl reused wind magic to land smoothly. The team reached the ground safely. After this event, the Ice Warrior finally realized the error of his solo-focused mentality. He had been overconfident and reckless. Meanwhile, the airship crashed nearby. The Beast Princess sobbed for the magical beasts, unaware that the hybrid boss had not yet been defeated. Its body continued to expand, likely affected by the Beast Princess's ancient magic, accidentally awakening the Demon Lord mana battery. The battery, craving sustenance, absorbed the magical beasts. The hybrid boss still searched for the Beast Princess. Though its appearance was deformed, it retained the essence of the 4 heavenly warlords, instinctively trying to kidnap her. Luckily, the Black Silk Master Marin had been observing the situation all along. The Ice Warrior planned to attack directly, but the Beast Princess intervened again. Seeing this, the protagonist instructed the Beast Princess to channel her ancient magic, conveying her wish to restore the magical beasts to normal, transmitting it to their life mana cores. With the protagonist's strength infused into the chimera, the magical beasts could be released. Just as they were about to act, Marin suddenly appeared, startling the protagonist. She warned not to interfere with ancient magic, letting someone untrained use it was too dangerous. The protagonist, confident that combining his power with the Beast Princess's would maximize the magic, ignored her warnings. Only after assessing his own capabilities did he act, knowing he could succeed. As he began, a black hole appeared above him and the hybrid boss. The chimera slowly reverted to its original form, but both the protagonist and the 4 heavenly warlords were sucked in. The protagonist witnessed the 4 heavenly warlords disappear and saw his own body separating from his soul. A mysterious voice spoke, the ancient magic was a legacy of a powerful race long extinct. These beings surpassed human intellect, possessing the power to alter the world at will. Molly Lee recognized the voice as Xian Wei from the Grimoire of Magic, continuing to explain that this race had created spells capable of manipulating life and death, even bending the world's fundamental laws. However, this power also threw the world into chaos, pushing an entire race to the brink of extinction. Terrified of their own strength, they decided to forbid the use of such overwhelming magic, what is now known as ancient magic. Yet, they foresaw that one day in the future, the world might need this reality-bending power. So they prepared successors to inherit ancient magic. At the same time, they feared that later generations might misuse this forbidden power, hastening the world's end. They set a global enchantment: anyone who is not a true heir and uses ancient magic will have their body destroyed. Therefore, anyone attempting to cast it risks losing control of the magic and perishing. The man before them was Xianwei. He claimed to have used ancient magic during the battle against the Demon Lord. Though they had cornered the Demon Lord, victory seemed near when they became slightly careless and the Demon Lord seized the moment to unleash a self-destructing final attack. The town was obliterated, and their allies and civilians were killed. Xianwei, determined to save everyone, sacrificed his life by using the forbidden ancient magic. Ultimately, he reversed life and death, resurrecting the town's citizens and his comrades. At this moment, the protagonist's presence slowed the closing speed of the black hole. He had to seize the opportunity to escape, and the key to doing so lay within himself. At that time, the team realized that previously it had been the protagonist helping them, now it was their turn to assist him. Responding to their mysterious call, the protagonist managed to escape the black hole and return to reality. As a result, everyone later learned that the protagonist's master was that legendary Great Sage. For adventurers like them, the Great Sage was like a being above the clouds. Malin asked the protagonist what his plans were, whether he wanted to stay by her side. The teammates anxiously awaited his answer. Naturally, the protagonist wanted to remain with the team. Moreover, the king wished for them to stay temporarily in the capital, so he also wanted to experiment with other kinds of magic in addition to support spells. At this moment, the Beast Girl remarked that the protagonist was similar to his master. But when he reflected on all he had endured, the protagonist did not feel happy at all. This frustrated her, and in an instant, she erupted in rage, blowing everything away. "Yeah,